Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally rewriting the rules of venture capital. If you've been paying any attention to the startup world lately, you know things are moving at breakneck speed. Under Gary Tan's leadership, Y Combinator has undergone this massive strategic transformation. We are looking at a completely new playbook for 2026, one that prioritizes deep technical moats and real physical world applications. The era of the traditional software startup, well, it's basically being rewritten as we speak. And nothing highlights this better than this quote right here. Software alone is no longer enough to generate venture scale returns. Let that sink in for a second. For the last decade, the classic Silicon Valley dream was two founders hacking away in a garage writing code and building a billion-dollar SaaS company. But looking at the 2026 landscape, that garage hacker era is officially over. Software has become the baseline, the substrate. It is no longer the moat itself.
To really understand why, just look at this massive paradigm shift in the unit economics. Back in 2020, a traditional SaaS company usually needed 18 to 24 months, plus armies of engineers, just to hit $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue. But today, AI has completely collapsed the cost of code. We're seeing super lean teams, sometimes literally just one solo founder, reach that exact same revenue milestone in 4 to 6 months. AI doesn't just make the product better, it radically changes how much money and time you need to prove your value. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the death of software moats. Second, the hard tech pivot. Third, the rise of AI native services. Then, we'll go inside the 2026 batches, lay out a framework for building startups, and finally, look at the trillion-dollar agentic future. Let's get into it.
Part 1, the death of software moats. Let's talk about why the traditional SaaS playbook is completely obsolete. Generative AI has essentially driven the cost of writing code down to near zero. Honestly, any decent team of 3 engineers equipped with AI coding agents can instantly spin up a functional SaaS product. If you're out there just building a standard enterprise dashboard, someone else can and will replicate it over the weekend using an API key. When absolutely anyone can build it, the defensible value of pure software just vanishes. Poof, gone. Which brings us to a concept you absolutely have to understand, the commoditization of SaaS. This is the new economic reality, where AI reduces the barrier to entry for digital products effectively to zero. And it's exactly why founders are being forced to find moats elsewhere. Understanding that the purely digital moat is gone is the key to understanding why YCMIT is suddenly pouring so much money into the physical world. That perfectly sets up part 2, the hard tech pivot. This is all about securing moats in the messy, physical, and highly regulated world. Just look at these highlights from YC's Summer 2026 requests for startups. They are literally asking to fund lunar manufacturing using molten moon dust, counter-swarm defense drones, and robot farmers. They even want space inference chips because traditional AI hardware just gets destroyed by the radiation and thermal extremes of space. These aren't sci-fi pipe dreams. This is a massive structural shift. The new moats require physical hardware and serious capital, simply because physical things are incredibly hard to replicate. To put that into perspective, let's break down the actual bottlenecks these startups are tackling. Take space manufacturing. The biggest problem is the astronomical cost of shipping mass up there. So the solution is in situ resource utilization, basically using the materials that are already on the moon. Down here on Earth, instead of firing multi-million-dollar missiles at cheap consumer drones, YC wants software to find interceptors. And in agriculture, instead of just blanketing whole fields in harsh chemicals, they want robots using real-time AI computer vision to microtreat individual weeds, which could slash pesticide use by 90%. They're applying AI directly to the physical world, because that's where the margins are highest and the incumbents are the slowest. Moving on to parts 3, the rise of AI native services. This is all about selling outcomes, not software subscriptions. This is an absolute game changer for B2B. For the last 20 years, you'd sell a software tool and the client still had to hire humans to actually use the thing. Not anymore. Now, you aren't selling a tool, you're selling the finished work. AI native services blur the line between software and traditional services by deploying autonomous agents to deliver end-to-end results. You're selling the guaranteed outcome, not a login to a dashboard. There's this quote from an operator that I think hits the nail right on the head. The edge isn't the model. It's knowing which 50 unsexy workflows to point it at. The foundational AI models, those are becoming commodities. The real value, the ultimate competitive edge, lies with founders who understand fragmented processes. messy real-world execution, and heavy compliance burdens. It's all about pointing these incredible AI minds at the deeply unsexy workflows that actually keep businesses running. Okay, let's look at the hard numbers in part 4, inside the 2026 batches. Time to see the data behind these freakishly strong cohorts. 14, that is just a staggering number. 14 companies hit $1 million in annual recurring revenue by demo day in the winter 2026 batch alone. That is literally the highest ever for any YC cohort. And remember, this is happening in just a few short months before they even present. It absolutely proves that the hyper-fast revenue generation we talked about earlier isn't just theory, it's reality. When we break down the 89% of companies in the batch using AI, a clear picture emerges. Applied AI makes up over 51%, and deep tech is sitting at almost 22%. Together, they completely overshadow the declining thin wrapper category, which has shrunk down to just 15.2%. So that whole narrative going around that everything is just a thin wrapper on top of ChatGPT, the data proves that's completely overblown. We're witnessing a massive flight to quality. Deep tech, meaning startups training their own custom models, building robotics, or inventing novel hardware architectures, is surging to nearly 30% of the overall batch composition. Meanwhile, those simple AI wrappers are plummeting, falling below 13%. YC has gotten insanely picky about technical depth. They are actively hunting for high-moat engineering. And here's another wild stat for you. 22. That's the number of solo founders in the winter 2026 batch, making up 11% of the entire cohort. We are seeing the massive resurgence of the highly technical solo founder. Because they can leverage advanced AI coding and research agents, a single formidable founder can literally do the work of an entire early-stage engineering team. Talk about capital efficiency and saving your equity, right? So how do you actually do this? Let's get into part 5. The framework for building startups. Here is your actionable playbook. These 3 steps are the new holy grail. Step 1, you have to find a bottleneck, a messy, highly regulated or physical workflow that everyone else hates dealing with. Step 2, deploy autonomous agents that completely bypass the traditional human user interfaces. And step 3, sell the guaranteed outcome. Don't sell the software tool, sell the result. To see this in action, just look at these incredible real-world examples. Cardinal is doing B2B sales by deploying AI-native sales reps that literally replace the human stack. Grazemate? Who thought we'd see the day of robot cowboys and AI drones herding cattle? Then you've got Terranox AI doing AI-powered uranium discovery, and GRU Space, founded by a 22-year-old, by the way, building intergalactic construction and the very first moon hotel. They are all targeting incredibly difficult, physical or regulated spaces. And that brings us to our final section, part 6, the trillion-dollar agentic future. Let's look at sovereign systems and the next decade of venture capital. By tackling these incredibly difficult, messy, real-world spaces, founders are building what are now called sovereign moats. These are fortresses built in physical, capital-intensive industries. Here, AI isn't just a fun little chatbot. It acts as an autonomous orchestrator managing our energy, our agriculture, and our national defense. These are businesses that a simple software competitor sitting in a garage literally cannot breach. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to consider, your own place in this huge paradigm shift. As AI evolves from a simple digital tool into an autonomous actor managing the physical world, what is your sovereign moat in the agentic economy? The era of the technical architect and the physical pioneer has just begun. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building.